So I played bass in some bands for a couple years. And then after a couple years of that, I was like, fuck this. I want to play guitar. Like all the cool guys play guitar and they're the ones writing songs. And how
Right.
dare I think I was going to join that club, but I traded in all my bass shit, including a brand new bass I bought. And I paid money just to get a Marshall half stack. So I
Right.
royally got screwed, but I didn't care.
Welcome to The Creative Asylum, a weekly podcast that digs deep into the minds of visionary creators of all stripes. Musicians, actors, filmmakers, writers, artists, cartoonists, and cultural disruptors. Here, we'll discuss perspectives of living life on your own terms. Life lessons that keep us grounded and sane, and sometimes pull us back from the edge. So, take a deep breath, loosen your grip on the bland and the boring. This is your weekly prescription for authentic living, creative clarity, and hopefully, a little bit of cultural rebellion.
Side effects may include spontaneous joy, existential epiphanies, and an uncontrollable urge to do weird and beautiful things.
Check out the new background. Hopefully this will be part of our permanent new background. The reason we're doing this is because, if you're watching on YouTube, you already know that I have been horribly out of focus most of the time. This is an issue we have yet to be able to figure out why it's happening, but it keeps happening. So I'm hoping that maybe with lighting and distance that I am in better focus this time. And if it works out, this is what you'll be seeing in the future. However, the next couple episodes will be the same old background because we don't necessarily do these interviews in the same order that we're broadcasting them. Maybe that seems weird, but that's how it is. Today's conversation is with an old friend of mine, Jason Blackmore. He is a noise rock, punk rock legend, at least in my world. You may know him from the 90s from a band he did out of Kansas City called Molly McGuire. But he's done so many bands since then. He's done Death Eyes, Maint Latage, his current outfit is Sisters. He's actually working on a new Molly McGuire record, if you can believe that. He's also made a couple of documentary films. The dude can't sit still. And this is something I can relate to, and this is probably part of why we're friends, is because I also have a hard time sitting still. So, without further ado, let's go to the conversation. Hope you enjoy it. All right. Good day. Jason Blackmore. How the hell are you?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
I'm okay. Well, let's just dive right in. You just got back from Kansas City. Is that correct?
I did.
And you just recorded the fourth Molly McGuire album?
Well, yeah, we're working on the fourth. We got the basics done. We got the drums and bass and some guitars and all that done.
So what inspired such a bold act as diving in boredom?
I guess, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, a lot of it though, I've been going back to Kansas City a lot the past year and a half or more.
Okay. Some
good news, some not so good.
Okay.
But to basically, long story short, see my parents, and my dad's health was a little, off for a second. And my mom was fighting cancer last year, and I'm thankful to say she's cancer free right now. So
that's great.
That's the most important thing. I've been going back to Kansas City a lot and trying to visit, and I'm an only child, so trying to help out and do what I can. Because it's a little stressful,
Sure.
But obviously I'm trying to do everything I can to help out. But I hit up Gherkin and Ray. I was like, hey, I'm coming back to Kansas City a lot. Maybe we should make a record. And they both were into it. So
that's cool. That's great. And that's kind of, Molly McGuire isn't necessarily your musical origin, but Kansas City is. I think it's fair to say that Molly McGuire was the point in your musical career where you're sort of best known and where things really exploded for you in the first place. So
yes, definitely have, the roots there. I moved to San Diego in 2000, but Kansas City is where everything started. Even the, punk rock bands I was in high school in the 80s. So playing my first basement shows. And then I had a band called Lamort 13 that opened for MDC when I was 17 years old. I
thought you were going to say 7.
When I was 7 months old, I played my first show. Yeah, I don't know how punk rock you are, but I was 7 months old when I played my first show.
I am not that punk rock and never have been.
But we played at the Outhouse. You remember the Outhouse?
Yeah, I do.
In Lawrence,
I do.
Kansas.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So I was going to multiple shows there, and then finally got to play my first show there, opening for MDC when I was like 17 with a band called Lamort 13 with my friend John Gamble on drums, my friend Marty Ross on guitar, and our dear friend Joe Mahowski on vocals.
So you're 17. How old were you when Molly started?
21.
Okay. So you'd been in a few bands for a few years at that point. And how did that band start initially?
Molly McGuire.
Yeah.
Basically, I had been jamming with friend Matt Bramlett and Sean Bosler. We had a thing called Selfless. And I was playing bass at the time.
Okay.
Then I got kind of antsy. The reason I even bought a bass was because bands were looking for bass players in the 80s.
Sure. Well, because everybody wants to be a guitar player, right? And so
yeah, or a drummer.
I
was like,
the bass players out there are frustrated guitar players. At least that's what I've heard. I wouldn't know about that.
Yeah, so I actually had a lot of fun playing bass, but I already had I had an electric guitar, and Tim Dow and I had even started a band called Orderly Chaos. If you really want to call it a band, I don't know, but that was like our first band when we were like 13. We met when we were 13 and 83, so we've known each other since 1983. And he got a drum kit, and I got a little Gorilla amp that I still have, and an Ibanez electric guitar. And he and I started doing that and just making up stuff, which I guess is punk rock.
That's how it starts.
But heavily influenced by all that, Black Flag, GBH, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And didn't even know how to tune a guitar. Fast forward a couple of years, I'd been playing guitar like self-taught, trying to learn as much as I could on my own and in my bedroom and learning like how to play punk rock songs. But then as I started meeting people that actually were playing, they were looking for bass players. And Tim Dow was jamming with this guy, Randy Morgan. And I had met him seen him like going to the punk rock shows. And he was also a member of the BMX Brigade, which was this BMX club in our area where we grew up. They were kind of like Jackass before Jackass ever existed. Seriously, like the shit they were doing. But this guy, Randy Morgan, I just was like, whoa, this dude's like kooky as hell. And I'd seen him at punk rock shows just being squirrely and like, I don't know, man. And then found out he played in a band, and I actually saw his band, Implements of Destruction. And just really gravitated towards this dude and his energy and his guitar style. Very Rick Agnew, Brian Baker kind of influenced punk rock stuff. And then Tim was playing drums with him, and this guy was playing bass with him, and he kept not showing up to practice. So honestly, that's kind of the reason I got a bass.
Okay.
I saw an end to maybe play in a band.
Right.
And that's what I wanted to do, was like be in a band, and I wanted to be accepted by these people, And so I played bass in some bands for a couple years. And then that's the band like I said, we opened for MDC. I was playing bass. And then after a couple years of that, I was like, fuck this. I want to play guitar. Like all the cool guys play guitar, and they're the ones writing songs. And how dare I think I was going to join that club, but I traded in all my bass shit, including a brand new bass I bought. And I paid money just to get a Marshall half stack. So I royally got screwed, but I didn't care. I just wanted a Marshall half stack and wanted to start my own band. So I started writing some songs. And then this guy, Seth, had jammed with Matt and Sean, the same guys that I had jammed in. We were called Selfless, but by then they changed the name to Germbox. And if you don't know who Germbox is, like you should look them up. I'll send you links.
I do not, and I will. Yeah, for sure.
But they super rad, very unique noise rock kind of band.
Mm-hmm.
And all of them great friends of mine. But Seth joined that band on bass. And then after about a year that he was in that band, same thing. He wanted to play guitar. So he got rid of his bass stuff, bought a guitar, and he and I had already talked and become friends. And we had, connection with musical background. We both loved Discord records and post-punk stuff like, Swerve Driver. And he was a big Red Lorry, Yellow Lorry fan. And I didn't know anybody else. I didn't really know anybody else that knew that band, and I liked them. So we had all these connections. We were like, we should jam sometime. And we jammed one time, and it went horribly wrong. It sucked. And then we saw each other again at, I actually just talked to Paul Melanowski about this, but we saw each other again at a Season to Risk Sinister Dane loft party. And we were like, maybe we should try to jam again. And that time it went really well. We wrote a couple songs, and that's kind of where Molly McGuire started, with Seth Hardy and I on guitar.
How long was Molly together? I mean, you only did what, 2 records, right? But you ended up on a major pretty quick.
Yeah, we did Sisters of on a label called Hit It out of Chicago with this guy, Ken Wagner. He initially had worked for Dolly Records, which was Caius and Ethel Meatplow.
Yeah.
And we were huge Caius fans. So
Yeah.
he saw that and kind of, oh, hey, I work for that label. Then that label fell apart. He started his own label. So we signed to Hit It and did a record. And we actually recorded Lime, the second record, for Hit It. But by then we had been touring enough that we had some major label interest, which, I mean, that was just happening with everybody. That's what was happening at that time. It wasn't that we were a good band or that we were...
But you were a good band.
Well, thanks. But or that we were special, but it was just what was happening at the time. Matt Marshall, who had signed Tool, really wanted to sign us.
Oh, yeah.
He actually flew into Chicago when we were making Lime. And again, we were making that Lime for Hit It. We were going to put it out on Hit It, but so many major labels kind of started hitting us up. And like Matt Marshall was like, straight up, he was like, I signed Tool, the biggest band in the world. I want to sign you guys. Like, took us out to eat.
Matt's a dear friend.
Yeah, no, he's a super rad dude. But, you know, we were young, dumb, naive. We didn't have management. We were just like, hey, whatever's cool.
So this was when Matt was at Zoo.
Yeah.
Wow,
He was,
you know, had he signed you, you and I would have become friends way sooner.
Probably.
Because I met Matt back when he was doing A&R at Zoo, and he had just signed Tool, and he was working with Matthew Sweet as well. And
there you go.
You know, he did a CZ Records deal through Zoo that was sort of this multi-tiered thing for BMG. So he and I got really close.
Nice. Yeah, he's a good guy.
He is. And he still is. He's still a good guy. He's one of the good ones. One of the good ones.
I haven't talked to him in years, so tell him I said hi. But yes, the story I remember, I mean, I know he was just looking at us like, you guys just don't even get it. You know, like he was like, what? I signed the biggest band in the world right now. I want to sign you guys. What do you want?
Right.
And my answer was creative freedom.
Well, I don't think that's an unreasonable thing to ask for. Do you?
I don't either. And that's where my heart was at the time. I've never been business minded. You know this. We've talked about this. I'm not the business side of music. I just have no clue to this day. I just
let's talk about this a little bit because it kind of gets to the core of my whole inspiration for like doing this program, right? This podcast show, whatever you want to call it. You know, it's about creativity and it's about authenticity. And that can mean a lot of things, but to me, authenticity kind of means that you are kind of sticking by your guns. You're doing the thing that you want to do, specifically in the way you want to do it. And effectively that you're not necessarily willing to sort of compromise. You know, and I think so many bands that were indie bands that went to majors ended up compromising a lot and giving up a lot in the process. And that's why there've been so many bands that get signed a major, put out a record, and then they just break up, right? Because they've kind of, you know, signed their soul away, you know, for like a big paycheck instead of maybe taking a small paycheck and holding on to the thing they want to do. So I guess my question to you has to do with that drive. So you and I had a conversation recently. I forget the specific thing, but you were basically saying how if you aren't always moving forward and creating and doing something new, that you're going to start to kind of go a little crazy. Like this is such a core part of what drives you through life.
Oh, yeah, it's therapeutic. I mean, I have to constantly be doing something, which I just figure everybody else is wired that way, you know, but maybe they aren't.
No, they're not. A lot of people are. I mean, I think a lot of people that will be on this podcast are those kinds of people.
Sure. Right. And that's what I would expect, you know, because I know you well enough to know that we're obviously similar people and we are wired similarly, the same, you know, like, but yeah, to me, I mean, I don't know any better. You know, I don't know if people are listening to my music. I mean, I know a few people are, but it's not why I do it, but it's awesome. There's no words to express how I feel when somebody contacts me or sends me a message or I see a comment and they're just like, dude, you know, this song or this album, that means the world to me.
Sure.
But I also just do it because it's all I know how to do is write songs and make records. And to think about a song coming from here
Yeah.
out of my fingertips, showing my friends, then them putting the drums and whatnot on it, and then being mixed, mastered, sent to the pressing plant, and then a test pressing shows up at your house. And you put that on the turntable and you're like, that's my brain. I don't know. There's something really neat about that.
There is.
And again, just to me, it's therapeutic. Like I have to have that outlet.
Well, like what would it be like if suddenly you didn't have that outlet? Like if you were,
I'd be miserable.
right. So, I mean, what do you think that is? Because I don't think that most people are really wired that way, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I guess not. I've learned that as I got older. But I think when I was younger, I just kind of figured everybody was like me, especially all of us that love music and wanted to play in bands. But then we hit our 20s and some people stuck with it and really went for it. And others got jobs and had kids and do all that.
Sure.
Hey, to each their own. I mean, everything's, whatever, like life is life. But yeah, as I've gotten older, I'm like, am I an idiot for, wanting to do this or that? But it doesn't matter. Like at this point, I'm just like, this is what I do.
I was thinking that it's not really what you want to do. It's just simply what you do.
Yeah. Do.
Right. I mean,
Yes.
I mean,
Whether I like it or not. Yeah.
well, I admire that because like, I'm wired that way. And I mean, enough about my background and sort of my identity around my old band, but I haven't been in a band in literally decades.
Right.
And yet I still think about that, like it's something that drives me inside of my head, but there are other things that I guess have taken precedence. And part of it is that I just, I've chosen to make compromises, I chose to be more professional and more business minded and pursue a couple of different careers, so that I could have a mortgage. And there have been times when I have questioned that. Like, was that the right thing?
Well, don't we all do that though? I mean, that's what I
suppose.
mean. It's the grass is always greener, I guess, right? 'Cause
Yeah.
I've obviously had moments. I'm 55 years old and, I don't own a house,
No.
but I live in Ocean Beach, San Diego, California, and I'm married to a awesome, beautiful woman that has filled my heart and changed my life. And we have two beautiful kitty cats, and I have friends like you, and I'm still making music. Like
you can walk down the street and like, there's the ocean and there's the horizon and there's the clouds and the sun,
Yes. Speaking of therapeutic, that's why I have to live by the water. And I'm very blessed. I'm very grateful. And the older I get, that's the things that really matter to me. Like I'm so grateful that I'm able to continue to make music with my friends.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more probably grateful about that now than I was younger. When your ego is involved and all the things you think of getting laid or like we're going on.
Hold on.
No, I mean, but all the things your drive when you're younger, your reasons, music for me has always been the reason I was doing it.
Sure.
But I just mean when we were younger, there was other things going on and we were partying and having a good time. And there's nothing wrong with that. But now, especially now, it's purely about music. And I am more grateful than anything at this point in time in my life that there are people that even will take time out of their life to play with me or record with me or learn one of my songs or record an album with me. Like, that is really, really special to me and means the world. Because really at this point, all I'm concerned about and every day thinking about is like how I just want my family and friends to be healthy and happy and how grateful I am for all the time that I have spent on this planet. At this point, it's like you wake up, people ask me when I run into them around Ocean Beach here, this or that, just like, how you doing? I'm like, woke up breathing, life's good.
I can still walk.
Yeah.
So let's fast forward to right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess right now as you're working on the fourth Molly McGuire record, but I'm thinking more specifically about the record that you just put out, which is the new record, the second one by the band Sisters.
Yes. Wings of Deliverance. Yes.
So let us talk about that.
Yeah. Well, that's Sisters is Mario Quintero and I. He plays in a band with his wife, Sarah, called Spotlights. Super awesome band. If you don't know them, check them out. But about 12, 13 years ago, Mario was living in San Diego. He had a studio called Black Box Studios in Golden Hill. And I worked at a place called the Turf Club, like a couple blocks away. And I actually lived upstairs at the time. And at that time, I think I was in a hardcore band called Rat's Eyes with my friend Jimmy, who actually played in Gunfighter.
Okay.
which was the band we started after Molly McGuire. Jimmy was the bass player.
In San Diego or in KC?
We started that band in Kansas City, but I moved to San Diego in 2000, and the band was supposed to follow. That was David Smith, who plays drums for Season of Risk, was drumming with us at the time. Jimmy on bass, and Toby Lawrence, who was also in Molly McGuire. A year went by, and the only person that moved here was Jimmy. So we had a version of Gunfighter out here in San Diego and did an album called The Serpent Serenade. That was our third album. We did a split with Train Dodge, some really good homies of ours from Oklahoma, rad band, label mates on Spartan, speaking of sisters. But
Yes.
anyway, Jimmy and I started a hardcore band called Rat's Eyes. And I can't remember what year that was, like 2008 maybe. And Gabe Serbian, may he rest in peace. He was the drummer of The Locust. He was the singer for our band Rat's Eyes. And my good friend John Cotto was the drummer. And at the time, I was doing that and had done a band called Sirhan. But I started writing some kind of more Molly McGuire type 90s songs, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And I wrote like 8 songs, and I was like, well, this doesn't fit in Rat's Eyes, obviously. And I immediately thought of Mario and trying to go to Black Box, his studio right down the street, to maybe record some of this shit. So I hit him up and I was like, hey man, would you be down to record this or record it with me? Like get involved? And he was like, absolutely. We were gonna look for a drummer, this or that, but he was like, I'll just play drums on it. And I thought he only played guitar because I'd seen him in his band Hialeah, which was really cool, kind of Jawbox vibe, 90s stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, you play drums? He's like, well, I can play drums. So I went to show him some songs at his studio, and he just set up a drum kit in the main room with a 412 Marshall cabinet. And he mic'd the cabinet, mic'd the drums. He's like, all right, show me a song. So I showed him the first song, and we went over it a few times, and then we recorded it. And then we did that with a few more songs. And then we went in the control room and listened. And then I just doubled the guitars and I put bass on it. And so we did a couple of those sessions. We did like 8 songs. And then he was in a band called Sleep Lady, and he and Sarah, his wife, ended up moving away. And they started Spotlights. They moved to Brooklyn. And then fast forward to COVID.
Mm-hmm.
He hit me up during the whole lockdown and was like, hey, man, you remember that Sisters stuff? And I was like, yeah, because we had never finished it.
Oh,
it was
yeah.
just like 8 songs with music, no vocals. He's like, I found that shit on an old, because, obviously people are looking for shit to do during COVID, like going through old photo boxes or shining their shoes or whatever the hell they're doing, or eating mushrooms. Anyway, he's like, I found that shit on a hard drive. Like, it's kind of cool. Like, maybe we should do something with it. And he sent me a few songs. So we threw vocals on a few songs and self-released an EP called Make It Hurt in 2000, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, well, dude, we're going to have to make an album. And he's like, yeah. So I wrote some songs, and we did Leech Eater, our first album that came out on Spartan Records in 2023. And then went right from making that album into I was writing songs for this one.
Okay.
Wings of Deliverance.
Right.
And yeah, and just, what, all I can say is God bless Mario. He just is like, yeah, dude, whenever, just fly out to Pittsburgh, where they live now. And he has a home studio in the basement. So I'm very, very, very grateful for that. Very blessed. And to have an outlet like that. And that honestly is the true definition of teamwork, in my opinion. Like, I write all the music and song structures, and I don't even send them to him. I just fly to Pittsburgh. It's kind of the way we did it when we originally got together.
You just kind of work it out.
Like, yeah, I just showed him songs like the very first time we ever did this.
Uh-huh.
We continue to work that way to this day. Like, I don't even send him songs. I just fly to Pittsburgh and I start showing him music, and he mics the drum kit, and we just record all the drums, and then I record all the guitars and bass. I fly home to San Diego. He picks a few songs to sing on. I pick a few songs to sing on. And then a few months later, after we've written lyrics and come up with vocals and a couple, bells and whistles and ideas, I usually fly back to Pittsburgh and we do all that crap. And then he mixes and masters it. So he's the guy that makes it sound amazing. That's all him. I just write the tunes.
No, I totally like what I've heard so far.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. I mean,
appreciate it. Thank you for listening.
It's noisy, but you are one of the awesome kings of contemporary noise rock, as far as I'm concerned.
Well,
which isn't for everybody, obviously. I've always hated this need for human beings to shove things in a box, but
same.
But I don't know. I mean, noise rock is a good descriptor for a really big umbrella.
I'll take it.
I mean, I guess I would say noise rock is that stuff you know, play for your elderly parents to make them leave. I don't know.
Not speed metal or, yeah, I don't know. But
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I mean,
Well,
you know,
no-
I used to have parties in Seattle when I lived there, and there was always that, like, you'd have a party and like, wow, 100 people showed up and I don't know who they are and I wish they weren't here. You know, so it'd be like, whatever, midnight. And I'm like, I've had enough of this. And so I used to literally have this tape that I made, and all my records in my stereo was in an old utility closet, had a lock on it. So when I was just ready for the party to be over, I would like take the record off, I would put the tape in, and it had stuff like White House and Throbbing Gristle and like real like industrial noisy stuff. The kind of music that literally is probably made with the intention of making people feel uncomfortable.
right.
And I would just put it on. It'd be like half a tape, 45 minutes. And I would turn the volume up just a little louder than usual. I'd close the door and lock it. And people like, what the hell is this? Whoa! And, it never took 45 minutes. It usually took about 15, maybe 20. And
I was going to say, and if
empty.
anybody's wanted to stick around and hang out with you, then you were probably really good friends by the
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, is that Hamburger Lady by Throbbing Gristle? As a matter of fact, yes. What's your name? Yeah.
And then the
Kinda like that.
conversation goes on for days. Yeah. Yeah.
If you're enjoying this conversation, please make sure you hit that follow button so you never miss an episode. If you're watching on YouTube, please like this video, leave a comment, and if you haven't already, please subscribe. It's the quickest way to grow our channel, and it's absolutely free. You can also subscribe to our other channels on social media. Check out our Instagram at Creative Asylum CA, that's the letter CA, or on TikTok at The Creative Asylum, that's all one word. Our website is thecapod.com, and our Facebook profile is the same, facebook.com/thecapod. All right, back to the episode. So how did you initially get connected to Spartan Records? Because it's interesting because they're a Seattle label.
Yeah.
And I didn't actually realize the first Sisters record was on Spartan. I guess I hadn't realized they've been around that long.
Yeah. I don't know how long John's been doing it, man. He's put out a ton of stuff. He's put out a lot of Kansas City stuff, like new Shiner records on Spartan.
Right. And it's really good, that Shiner. I almost wore a Shiner t-shirt for this interview. I thought it might be an homage to Casey, but
yeah, no, I'm like, of course it's good. It's Shiner,
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
But Spartan also repressed Giant's Chair.
Right.
Another phenomenal band from Kansas City. Farewell Ben, which is a couple of the Boys Life guys, Yeah, he's connected with the KC people.
Do you think they'll be putting out the new Molly record?
He's asked me about it. He's like, yeah, so we'll see where that goes, But I don't know how long Spartan's been around, but he's definitely put out some really rad stuff, man.
Yeah.
I didn't even know his whole catalog until Sisters did Leech Eater with him. And then I kind of started investigating and looking into his stuff. And I was like, wow, okay. Some pretty good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. He seems fairly prolific.
Yeah.
So again, how did you connect with him?
Honestly, that was kind of Chris Enriquez, the drummer for Spotlights. I think he maybe reached out to him. And Chris was like, hey, man, this guy I sent him a couple songs. I think that's kind of...
Is Spotlights on Spartan as well?
No, they're on Ipecac.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But Chris just knows everybody. He's one of those super rad dudes that's well connected with everyone. He plays drums in like 20 bands, you know. He's just well connected guy,
Okay.
And I guess as a friend, like he heard Leech Eater and he was like, this shit's awesome. And somebody's got to put it out,
It seems like a really good fit.
Yeah,
me.
actually.
I mean,
that's what I mean. As I got to know the roster more, I was like, I feel like we found a good home.
Right.
And then John was totally down he didn't even ask to hear Wings of Deliverance. So I was like, it's a little different, maybe a little heavier. He's like, whatever, it's you guys. I'm like, rad. Okay.
Well, that's the beauty of being on an indie label versus a major.
Exactly.
You don't have to say we want artistic control because you already have it, When Doug March left Tree People and started Built to Spill, I'm like, hey, dude, when are you going to get me the tapes? I want to put the record out. He goes, but you haven't heard it. I'm like, I don't need to.
Doesn't matter.
I know who you are as a songwriter.
Yeah.
Like, I want to put out the record.
Absolutely.
I also had the legal contractual leaving member clause in there, but I just knew, like, I knew it would be great. And it was.
Exactly.
Like you don't, I mean, that's always been the problem, I think, with sort of corporate rock is they're so fixated on saleability that they completely forget about the artistry. And, and in the old days, A&R person would sign an artist and would develop that person's career over the course of 3 to 5 albums and actually build catalog.
Right.
And I think it's too bad that it's not still like that.
Yeah, exactly.
I think so much of the greatest music is because of that sort of attitude. And I think, indie labels have pretty much always maintained that kind of attitude for the most part.
For sure. Yeah, definitely more creative, and coming from the artistic side of it rather than the business side. Yeah. For sure. Like, with us, not to backtrack, but with Molly McGuire signing with Epic, it was, like I said, there were a few options.
Mm-hmm.
And it just seemed like the thing to do. But at the same time, it wasn't. Like, to me, signing to Epic, I was like, cool, our albums will be everywhere. You'll be able to find our records everywhere. Like, insane distribution. And that's what was appealing to me. Like, I was like, who cares if we're on Hit It or Epic? We're going to still be the same band and we're going to do our thing. Quickly after we signed to them, and one of the reasons we signed to them was because they put out Shudder to Think's Pony Express record.
Right.
I was like, if these guys have the balls to put out this band, they're one of my favorite bands and still are to this day.
Yeah.
And that album is, talk about artistic statement. You know what I mean? So I was like, well, shit, if they have the balls to put this record out and sign this band, I think we're in good company. Like, they're going to let us do what we want to do.
Right.
Honestly, it was like a week after signing with them. I was like, this is probably the worst idea we've ever had. And it was my doing.
Really?
I don't blame anybody else in the band. Those guys all kind of just were like, okay, well, whatever you think, dude, I was like kind of the leader, if you will, and main songwriter. And
so what was wrong with the deal?
We quickly realized that we were just a product. And if we weren't selling units, if we weren't moving units, then
right.
And they immediately wanted to hear demos. I'm like, you just put out our record. And then we talked to Ted Nicely about doing the second record with Epic, which we had like a $200,000 advance waiting for us or whatever. And we had already talked to Ted years ago. We had been in contact with him. I had sent him songs already. He was down. He wanted to record with us,
Yeah.
We had some history. We had established that. And so we just hit up Ted. And also Steve Rennie, the vice president of Epic, was kind of in our corner trying to get a bat for us.
Okay.
They fired Damon Stewart, the guy who signed us. They let him go. So then Steve Rennie kind of stepped up, who then went on to manage Incubus and stuff like that. But he was trying to look out for us, and I appreciate that.
And he understood you musically. If he went on to do bands like Incubus, things like that.
But he was also, I said, well, hey, we're talking to Ted Nicely about doing this next record. And he was like, dude, get on that. Richard Griffith, I think was his name, was the president of Epic. And he was like, Shudder to Think is his favorite band ever. Pony Express is his favorite album. If he hears that you're working with Ted Nicely, he'll totally greenlight it. You guys will be good to go. Let's do it. And I was like, really? Like Lime's over already? 3 months of Lime and you guys are done with it?
Right.
And so then again, I'm just like, this is ridiculous. Like, what are we doing? I immediately was like, no, we just need to be back on an independent and doing what we want to do and touring and putting out the records we want to put out. But we were involved in this game. And then I got
contractually bound, I assume.
Yeah. So I got back in touch with Ted Nicely and I was like, they wanted to hear demos. They wanted to hear 2 songs. Epic did, which Ted had said he was down to do. So fast forward, a month or so, he and I are talking on the phone. And I remember because this is before cell phones. I remember talking to him on a payphone. I had just gotten tattooed by my friend Brennan. And I stopped at a payphone to call him. It was like, so, hey man, we just got to figure out, because he wanted a Neve board and this and that. Where are we going to meet? I was like, I found a studio in Kansas City down in the riverfront area where we can do this. He was like, yeah, I've changed my mind. I'm not doing demos anymore. That's a label questioning my abilities as a producer. And I was like, what? like something had just happened to him. So I don't know if something happened with Girls Against Boys or something happened, right? Like within a matter of a few weeks.
Wow.
We went from, yeah, I'm down to, yeah, I'm not doing demos. I'll do the album with you guys. And I was like, well, they're not going to give us the money until we turn in 2 songs. It's a done deal. We just have to turn in 2 songs. Like we could basically go in and fart in microphones and say that you produced it. And I mean, which we could have done anyhow, I guess. But he was like, yeah, no, I don't do demos anymore. I've decided I'm not doing that anymore. And so that was kind of it. And I kind of gave up. I honestly was done. And I had a really weird situation, a really weird meeting with Steve Rennie, the vice president. We were in LA playing one time and he was like, hey, you and I need to have a meeting. And I was like, you and I? And he's like, yeah, not the band.
Just the 2 of you. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I went to Epic, in Santa Monica or whatever. I went to the Sony label headquarters or whatever. He brought me in his office and like sat me down and he's at his desk and I'm across the desk from him. And he's like, so what would you think about us putting a whole new band behind you? Yeah. So that right there is where I was like, I have no business being involved with this business. I have no interest whatsoever. I was like, those are my friends. And
I mean, a band is a partnership.
Yeah, I'm like, I might be the main songwriter, but these songs wouldn't sound the way they sound without them. That's Gherkin on drums. That's Ray on bass. That's Toby on vocals and guitar. We're a band.
Yeah. Show me a drummer that could do what Gherkin was doing on those records.
Exactly. I'm like,
there's no way.
That's what I mean. That right there sums up major labels, in my opinion. Them going, well, you're the main songwriter guy, right? I'm like, yeah, but without them, I'm like, put me in a room with just some random dudes. It's going to sound like shit.
Yeah. That especially considering that he was the champion of.
Yeah. Well, I think at that point they're just grasping, trying to figure out any way, like.
Maybe they should have given Lime more than 3 months to.
That's what I'm saying. I was like, I thought that record was a little cooler than, which is it's a
great record. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I like that record. That's a funny story. I won't go in depth here, but, we did that with Ken Andrews from Failure. And that was a wonderful experience recording with him because I was a huge Failure fan and they hadn't quite hit where they finally hit with Fantastic Planet.
Which is still one of my favorite records of all time.
Exactly. It's a great record.
Yeah. Yeah.
But at that time, Magnified was out when I got turned on to him because Ken Wagner from our label Hit It was managing them.
Wow.
That's how we got to know Failure. And Ken Andrews and I talked on the phone a couple times. So before they ever did Fantastic Planet, he and I were talking and I had heard demos for Magnified that they had done with the drum machine and all this stuff. Yeah. Basically they were looking for a drummer and I was like, I know who should play drums with you. And they flew Tim Dow out to play drums to try out.
Wow.
And they gave Tim the job and he passed on it.
Oh,
Hence, so there's where Kelly enters the picture, and they ended up doing Fantastic Planet with Kelly on drums. Yeah, but it was either Ken Andrews or Chris Goss from Masters of Reality. Those were the 2 producers we were talking to do Lime.
Both impressive. I think you picked the right one, though.
Me too. I would love to hear the desert version of Lime, but I think Ken Andrews to me is the obvious. Like it was just we ended the tour with this band called Plexi at the club called Dragonfly.
I remember.
You remember
Plexi.
that club, Dragonfly in Los Angeles?
Yeah.
Did you ever play there?
I didn't ever play there, but I remember Plexi. I was a big fan.
Awesome band. Super awesome band. We toured with them, ended our tour at the Dragonfly in LA, opening for Super Sucker.
Okay.
And Ken Andrews and Chris Goss both were at that show to see us.
Okay.
And when we got done playing, Ken Andrews handed me a cassette of Fantastic Planet. Now, this is way before the album had ever come out.
Right.
And he's like, hey, man, please don't make copies of this.
Yeah.
This is our new album. Check it out. And this is when we were still trying to decide who we wanted to get to produce Lime. And I went out to the van, as usual, to drink a couple Budweisers. And I popped that tape in after we played our set. And it just took like maybe 2 songs I listened to.
You're done.
And I was like, that's it. We're recording with them. So
let's shift gears
try to
here.
get off the script there.
There is no script.
Okay. Good. Because I'm real good at that.
In addition to being a songwriter and a guitar player and a noise rock, Satanist, you have also, and I find I've always been fascinated by the fact that somewhere along the way you decided I'm going to make a documentary film. And then you actually ended up making 2.
Yeah.
And I've watched them both, but
Thanks for watching.
yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for making them. Okay, we're done. No, so I'm just wondering, like, how, like, what was that process? How did you decide that this is a thing you want to do? Because it's such a left turn from everything you've done before and, I guess ultimately since, right?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, to me, it doesn't seem that weird.
Didn't say weird.
Yeah.
No, I think
Well,
I think it's not weird. I think it's freaking awesome.
No, I appreciate that. I guess
I get it.
Well, they're music documentaries.
Sure. Okay. Yeah.
Now, if I made a documentary about pig shit or something like that might be a totally out of left field. Honestly, it was just at a time where I was like, I don't know, probably in 3 bands at that time. And was like, had all this energy and didn't know what to do with it.
So you're in 3 bands and you felt like you had too much time on your hands. Is that kind of what you're telling me?
Well, just looking like just that when you have, what I'm saying? You have that creative energy.
Yeah. It's just flowing through you.
Yeah. And you're just like looking for ways to get it out of you or things to do or new ideas. I guess what I'm saying is instead of starting another band, I was like, why not make a film, make a film about music?
Okay.
And one morning I woke up and I told my wife, Abby, about it. I just had this idea. I was like, I should interview people, just asking them about like, what were the bands and the records that made you pick the path in life you chose? Like why you are who you are today, because obviously those people like Ian MacKaye or Jello Biafra, Keith Morris, all these people, whatever. So I kind of rooted it though around more like 80s hardcore. Obviously there's some post-punk like Paige Hamilton I interviewed from Helmet, Craig from Shudder to Think. But a lot of the people are kind of 80s hardcore because that really had a big impact on me when I discovered not only punk rock, but hardcore punk rock.
Yeah.
Just was the soundtrack to my life. My parents had divorced. My mom had left my dad. I was an only kid. My uncle had given me meth. All these things were happening right then at that time. And like Black Flag and, RKL, Aggression, Dr. No, Bad Brains, Agnostic Front, all those bands were the soundtrack to all of that. So yeah, I don't know. I just went for it. I just started hitting people up, seeing if they'd be interested or if that rang, echoed in their minds like, oh, okay, that sounds like a lot of fun. And a lot of people are like, yeah, that sounds great. Let's do it. A couple of the holdouts after I interviewed Keith, from Circle Jerks and Black Flag and a few other people, then they were like, oh yeah, cool. When are we doing this interview?
Right.
So I was really excited and really grateful, honestly. A few of those people I know, but a lot of them I'd never met.
Sure. Yeah.
To be able to sit down and talk about music with them. And honestly, you open that door for a lot of people, just like you're witnessing now.
Right.
Discussing with me music. You just open that discussion with me and I'll sit here and talk for days,
Right.
So that's what happened with a lot of these people. It was really awesome. And I'm very grateful that I had the opportunity to do that and catch it on film for, other people that want to take the time to check it out. Just had so much fun with the first one. I was like, we should make a second one.
I'm going to suggest right here, I'm going to interrupt for a minute.
Yeah.
Because I think you should mention the name of the movie so that people that might be listening to or watching this might go, oh, I need to go check it out. So have at it, sir.
Records Collecting Dust, Part 1 and Records Collecting Dust, Part 2. Now, Part 1 is based a little more around Southern California, although David Yao is involved, but he lives in Los Angeles. And Clay Tarver from Chavez and Bullet La Volta, I interviewed him for the first one. So there's a few people that aren't born in Los Angeles or San Francisco or San Diego. But then Records Collecting Dust Part 2 is New York, Boston, DC. So that's where we've got Cliff from The Freeze, Rockin' Bob from Jerry's Kids, Roger, just all these people, Agnostic Front, John Joseph from Cro-Mags, Ian, Brian Baker from Minor Threat, Dag Nasty. Anyway, list goes on and on. Yeah. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. A lot of fun making this one.
Yeah, we're going to make another film, do you think? Have you thought about it?
No, I was going to make Part 3. Actually, my friend Thad that I went to high school with, Thad Parnell's a rad filmmaker himself. And he signed up. I got him involved last year. I started going at it. I started hitting up people. We were going to get into Part 3. And that's right when my mom told me she had cancer. and my dad wasn't doing so well. So that got completely put on the back burner for the moment.
But it could still happen.
Could still happen, but it just at that moment, obviously my family
Yeah.
took,
Of course.
I was like, yeah, all this stuff has to be put on hold. So I wasn't even doing anything musically.
We're all getting at that age now where
Yeah.
this is starting to become more and more of a regular thing, not just with, family, but also with friends.
Yeah.
And especially in rock and roll where, have a lot of friends that have spent a lot of their lives not being so kind to their body in one way or another.
Yeah. No, I'm surprised that some of us are still around, but again, kind of brings me back to more of my honest philosophy anymore, or my just daily outlook or how I feel. I'm just happy to be here, and all I wish is for my friends and family to be healthy and happy, man, and enjoy the time while we can.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that kind of general spirit will probably help you live longer, as opposed to being festering with like anger or tragedy or whatever. You've got lightness and darkness. I guess this is a Star Wars analogy. Stay away from the dark side. So okay, so you kind of did the West Coast, you did the East Coast. What would part 3 be?
Midwest.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I thought maybe you were going to go for like Central America or something like that. That's going to be part 4.
Yeah, that could be
Latino punk.
Well, and then Northwest, which I'd have to interview you because you have roots, obviously Seattle, Portland, that Oregon. Greg Sage from the Wipers.
You could even do those things, you could take the same approach and take specific like regional music scenes, with, you got New York, you got Boston, you got DC, you got Minneapolis, Seattle. There's so many. And especially in the 80s, like pre-World Wide Web, when you didn't have that thing that sort of equalized everything.
Well, my list, what I considered, I guess you'd say not Midwest, but middle of the states for the third film was going to be all the way up to Minneapolis. Husker Du, Tar Babies.
Right.
Like I'd already reached out to, what's his name? Bucky Pope from Tar Babies. One of my favorite bands from back in the day.
Yeah.
If you're not familiar with Tar Babies, look up SST Records, Tar Babies, Fried Milk, No Contest. But, so like to me, that was like going to be somebody from Necros from Detroit and see if Tesco V's available. I'm drawing a blank now, but
Meatmen.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But then Chicago, like Naked Ray Gun.
Yeah.
Out of Order, Effigies, all the way down to, there's stuff, obviously Iowa, Kansas City.
I think that's all Midwest.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Kansas City. And then get into Oklahoma. There's one surviving member of the Offenders, one of my favorite. The drummer, I think, is the only member living of the Offenders that were from Texas or Oklahoma originally. Then I think moved to Texas. But then, of course, like Big Boys and Butthole Surfers and DRI is originally from Houston. Sick Pleasure. There's just I had a big ass list of people to hit up, and then obviously one of them was Steve Albini was a key part of that list.
Yes.
So then when he passed away as well, sort of was like, oh.
Well, I'm just going to say it, that I think you should, at some point when you're ready, you should pick that up and you should do part 3,
Right on. I want to. And like I said, my friend Thad, he's down. He's in. He's kind of like waiting, seriously. Like, when you want to do this, let me know.
Well, you got to do your sister's tour. You got to do the, you got to finish the Molly McGuire record. Are you going to tour with Molly, do you think?
Yeah, we're definitely going to go out and play some shows. My sister, Mario Quintero, is now in Molly McGuire.
So you could tour together.
Yes.
You could use the same backline.
Well, exactly. Hey, can we use your bass rig and your drums? Oh, actually, Gherkin.
Sure. Yeah.
Play drums on these songs. Ray, learn these sister songs. Yeah. But this tour we're getting ready to go out and do, we're super stoked. We're going out with Seasoned Risk.
Great.
Yeah, which, again, I've known those guys since, 1985, 1986. We were all in punk rock bands playing little shows and house parties back then and stuff.
Isn't that weird, like looking back and going, oh, yeah, I've known these people for 40 years?
It's very weird, but very awesome.
Yeah,
it is. I'm really excited to go out and play these shows with them. So it's going to be a lot of fun. But it's kind of the idea, I think, of perhaps the future. Is super excited to play bass and do a new album. Gherkin, of course, is busy with Shiner and stuff as well. But, you know, he always finds time, and he seemed excited to do the new album. And he has to be gherkin sometimes and be a little ornery, but that's him.
Yeah.
But I was very, very, very grateful to go back and play some music with those guys and to have Mario involved.
I'm super excited to hear it.
It's,
As you know, I was a big fan of the third record, which is not as well known as the major
it's
label record.
kind of obscure, but it's weird. Some of the people that like that record, like a few people have definitely hit me up. They're like, dude, that album
it's amazing. Hopefully Spartan will, put out maybe this new one, and maybe they'll re-release that one.
who knows? Could be. We'll see. This, I know this new one, it's kind of like Ray and I were talking, you know, like Ray put it well, every record's different.
Mm-hmm.
And we like that about it, you know.
Yeah.
I'm the primary songwriter, but I've changed over the years.
Of course.
You know, and it's like the first song off the first record, Sister Dove, the song Sick. I still kind of place those chords in a way, but I don't play that same way.
Yeah.
And my songwriting approach is different. So, you know, even if I try to like make myself write like a song off a line, I'll sit down and try to do it. And I'm like, no, if it doesn't come naturally to you, I'm like, don't do it, you know?
Right.
So Sisters of is its own record. Lime is its own record. Molly McGuire 3 is its own record. Although 6 of those songs come from around the time we did Lime. A few of those songs were written around then. So they are like Lime songs, but 6 of those songs were going to be on the album that we were going to do after Lime. So the album we would have done, the record that would have come out in 1998 with Ted Nicely as the producer, songs like The Dryer and Lee Marvin and Fat Lip, like those songs would have been on that record. So it's weird. Like some people are like, oh, Molly McGuire 3 doesn't sound like Lime. It's like, well, no, of course it doesn't. Not only is it years later, but we're like we're different people.
Everybody's different.
Yeah. So now this album, like I can't even relate it to Molly 3 because Molly 3 has a couple like kind of epic metal mastodon, if you will, kind of songs, or at least our attempt at that kind of approach.
Yeah.
Skinless and Cursed Part 2. This new album has nothing like that.
Well, I look forward
songs.
to it. I definitely look forward to it. I said I look forward to it.
Right on. Yeah, it's totally different. Totally different.
I look forward to your continuing creativity and authenticity as a musician, as a songwriter, and I guess as a filmmaker too. I feel like now that you've let the cat out of the bag, you can't put it back in. So at some point, you're gonna have to do this third film.
Yeah, whether I like it or not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but this podcast is gonna hold you to it.
Well, I'll do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hit me up when you think the time, like, hey man, I think you need to be out there doing interviews.
I'll be in touch next month. All right. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for taking the time to do this. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. I really, really appreciate you hitting me up to do this, man. I was looking forward to it. I was excited. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Creative Asylum. A quick favor before you go. If you liked this conversation, please be sure to follow and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. New episodes drop every Tuesday at 10. You can find us on Instagram and on YouTube at Creative Asylum CA. That's Creative Asylum and the letters CA. Our website is thecapod.com. And our Facebook is the same, facebook.com/thecapod. Until next week, when we'll have a new conversation with another creative disruptor, stay creative in life and at work.